So can you define neuromatic for our audience, or, at least in a rough
Yes.
sense?
Yeah, so my book is titled Neuromatic, which is also, as I've found out since publishing, is the name of a band in England.
Nice, nice.
We kind of get our tweets mixed up and things like that. It's also, I found a VHS tape from 1999 on a weight control VHS tape called Neuromatic and Behavioral Control. So I'm not the first one. I thought I was sort of coming up with a new coining a new term, but maybe not. But the neuromatic basically kind of signifies, I think, which is at the heart of my genealogy, which is sort of in the mid 20th century. I talk about I call it a consequential integration of two different sort of theoretical framings of reality in the human. One being in the form of information theory as it is developed by Claude Shannon in the 1930s and 1940s, published very famously in a couple articles in the Bell Laboratory Manual or Journal, I forget exactly what it's called, in the late 1940s. But already in the 1940s, people are aware, scientists are aware of this kind of development where, an incredible sort of advance in mathematics is happening there. And at the same time, we have the development of a kind of what we might call just the basic paradigm of the brain as a neural network, as consisting of different kinds of neurons that are connected to each other in an all but infinite kind of sort of density. And so these two theories it's almost like chocolate and peanut butter in a lot of ways, although they are chocolate and peanut butter, both sweet treats, right? That have sugar in them, but they come together in a way that, for me, just looking at it, on one hand, really does sort of initiate and catalyze an incredible boom in neurophysiological research and development of different kinds of paradigms of thinking about the brain as a collection of neurons that are connected, that process information. And with our new models, we can begin to understand not just the sort of form of the brain, we can begin to understand the processes of how the brain does its business. And, you begin to see that take off in the 1940s and 1950s. And at the same time, these two theories are also, at the foundation of what we would call the digital revolution, the advance of computer science, the building of some of the first computers in the 1940s, like people like John von Neumann, who are literally reading the same articles and thinking about building a machine. And the other people are reading the same articles thinking about, well, how do we study a brain, right? And you begin to sort of think about that moment. And then you think about the last 75 years, how the computers and our brain have, in a sense, at least I'll put understandings of computers and our brain have basically kind of been in this kind of constant weird feedback loop, right? Building machines to recognize us as human beings based upon a neuromatic model, and basically understanding our brains in light of the computers that we're building and are increasingly surrounding us, right? And going back to my prologue in the beginning of the book, in a lot of ways, that's a very claustrophobic chapter, right? The MRI is a claustrophobic space. It's a space where you do feel a certain kind of heteronomy. You're not necessarily in charge of what's happening, and you are awash with a certain kind of force of not just the magnetism, but culture and history. And there's something about that feedback loop between the brain and the computer, which I think is a kind of thread that sort of courses through my entire book to the last page, where I kind of do this moment where I'm writing to the reader, and I talk to the reader, and I'm like, I'm going to shut my computer down, not to escape language or to escape neuromatic, but just to have a moment where maybe there's just something said or something, a word that might just give you not an escape hatch, but at least some kind of frisson that would allow you perspective upon the kind of claustrophobic condition of discourse that I think that we are in.